Welcome back to another video, and today I'll be showing my favorites for Valentine's themed eyeshadow palettes. Welcome back, and today I'll be showing some of my sort of favorites for Valentine's themed eyeshadow palettes. Valentine's Day is a bit of a curious thing, for example, in the place where I live. So for us, Valentine's Day, it's not about love, it's more about like friendship. It's more of a like friendship day, but for me this day, even though it's not as big, for example, as I know that it's in the US where it's like huge, like especially like commercial day, if we could put it that way, but in here it's more like friendship day. But for me it's a good excuse to actually just showcase all my sort of pink and red themed eyeshadow palettes in one video. So we're doing this purely because I kind of like the theming of Valentine's Day, even if it's not, as I said, maybe so much about couples, but rather about friendship in our country. But I think generally, like, no matter where you live, it's always like nice to celebrate like friendship and love, because I do think those are like things that make the life worth living. How we're gonna do this? We're gonna do this pretty traditionally, as always, in my palettes video. I'm gonna show the one drugstore palette I have for this one, then the couple of high-end palettes, and then the indie palettes I have for this particular like video. I would overall say that actually I was thinking that I might have more, but there isn't like, I think, that many like palette recommendations that I have for this particular theme. But I think that also shows that I have been pretty good in recent years in terms of curating my palette collection, and for the fact that I'm not buying so much the same thing that maybe that I did maybe a few years ago. But let's start talking about the palette recommendations I have for the Valentine season. And I'm gonna already like apologize beforehand. My eyes are for some odd reason watering. I'm not sure is it the eyeshadow palette I'm wearing today. I am actually wearing the newest, I can show you, the Nomad palette. I don't think it's the palette that is actually making my eyes tear up. This is not going to be included in this particular video because I'm obviously testing this out. I'm a bit unsure currently, since I have only done one look with this one, even though this look is very Valentine's appropriate. But I have to test this out a bit more to sort of see that can I put this in any of my seasonal videos, or is it just like a generally good palette, or do I like this at all? So far, first impressions, this has been good, but I don't think it's the palette that is causing my eyes to tear up, but something is making them water. So if you are seeing like water under my eyes, it's just something is irritating them. But we will try to get through this video, even if my eyes are causing issues. So in terms of drugstore, I have only one recommendation, but I do think this is a pretty obvious one if you have seen my sort of palette collection. So this is the 42 pan Beauty Bay Berries one. So this is for all of you people who think like me that pink is the ultimate thing that Valentine's Day should have, and I think I have used this actually the most Valentine's Days during the last few years, and I do genuinely still enjoy this one. Mine is getting a bit on the older side. I have luckily been using this every year quite consistently, at least a few times, so I am quite up to date usually like where I'm going in terms of the like formula of this one. So let's just hope, because at least last year this was still good to go, let's hope that it's still good to go this year. I've always said that with this particular palette variation you could do with the 16 pan version, you don't need the 42 pan. The only unique thing you get with this 42 pan variation is the Lilac Row, which kind of does add some versatility to this one, but I think especially if you only need like pink with a bit of red, you can do with the 16 pan variation. But this is an excellent palette if your ideas of Valentine's color story is pinks and reds and you don't want to especially spend a lot of money. Beauty Bay is an excellent option because you can't match their price point and their quality. Then from high end we are having two recommendations. So first one is maybe like if you want something a bit more like maybe red leaning rather than pink leaning. So this is Narcissus, and I think this is the Afterglow Irresistible palette. Sorry about the reflective packaging. And this is something that goes somewhere in between being a Valentine's palette and being a summer palette for me. So this is more what I would say a red golden tone palette, but I do know that for some maybe the Valentine's look that that pink is maybe too much for you. Then something like this one could be better, that you kind of get the like reddish warm tone leaning looks, but you aren't like going full on pink. And I do have to say something that I do like about this particular palette is that I do think the shimmers in this one are very beautiful. It's a shimmer heavy palette, so if you really need your mattes to make your looks come together, then this might not be for you, but I haven't minded with this one that it's a bit more shimmer heavy. And yeah, for those of you looking a bit more maybe on the muted side of like pinkish reddish things, this could be a good palette. I have seen this on quite a few retailers' websites, so I think you can still actually get this one. Then a very cute 9 pan that I actually tried last year. So I tried LH Cosmetics last time. So LH Cosmetics is by Linda Hallberg, who is a Swedish makeup artist. And what was this? I think this was Blomma. Blomma was this palette's name, and I'm gonna show this close by because it is a. So this is kind of thing that this is kind of a good palette that if you want like maybe pink, but you also want something else, but you also don't want to buy a super big sort of pink and red palette. This is something that it goes to the pink leaning side of Valentine's looks. But with this one you actually do get more, like you can do a monochromatic pink look with this one, but you actually have some purples in this one. You kind of have some, especially like this shimmer over here, you do get a bit of this like golden orangey shift with this one. So I think even though it's a 9 pan, this was actually surprisingly versatile palette. It is still gonna, like the looks are still gonna come out in the realm of somewhere between being like this, like somewhere between muted purples and pinks, but it's not like it's not also a palette that you can exclusively get like only pink looks with. So I think for those of you who are looking for something like bit more like you want some pop of pink in your collection, but you don't want to get a very big palette, this could be a good option. And I do think this formula is actually like, you aren't getting like anything like super shiny shimmers that you might get from indie brands, but I do actually think the shimmer formula could be something that a lot of people will enjoy because it's a bit more on the drier side, in a good kind of positive way, that it doesn't crease. This is actually one of the most long-lasting eyeshadow formulas in general that I tried doing last year, so also for longevity this is a palette formula that I would recommend. Only downside I would say that these are pretty overpriced. I think you are better off in terms of with LH Cosmetics just waiting to get these on sale, because I do think the almost 50 euro price point, it's very, like, I think it's too much compared that it's not a very particular sturdy like cardboard packaging, and the formula isn't like, it's pretty stellar formula, but it's nothing like revolutionary. So wait for sale if you're eyeing one of these and then try them out. And then the sort of pile of indie palettes, and I think first I'm gonna show the big one, and I was actually pretty smart. I actually covered the mirror. So this was P. Louise's Christmas palette from 2024. This was a limited edition one. I do have to say in terms of packaging already, even though it's a holiday palette, you could kind of also do with the, think this is a Valentine's palette. So this is one of those huge book palettes that this actually had like cheap products in it, but for me actually what did make this a why we are having very, how am I gonna show this? I think, yeah, okay, my face is not showing, but that's not important. So I did the smart thing, I actually did remember to cover the mirror of this one so you're not getting any reflections. So I think it's pretty obvious when you look at this color story why I would recommend this as a Valentine's palette. It's a, I would say like pink kind of maybe bit of peachy leaning color story, but actually rather than think about Christmas when I saw this color story, I was thinking, okay, at least for me this kind of is more Valentine's rather than like a Christmas thing. What I do like about the newer P. Louise palette is that I do think their formula has been improving, especially I do think the shimmers in this one were pretty upgraded from shimmers that they used to have previously. The mattes work out really well. You can't get this anymore, but I would advise that if you did get this during like a couple of Christmases ago, I would like to get out, because I do think you would get quite a lot of nice Valentine's look with this one. The only thing I would say that these are very like inconvenient to store, like look how thick this one is. Also, but maybe the other side, you also have your cheek products in this one, so this kind of has also like blushes, highlighters and bronzers in it, so you could like use this as a full base palette. Then the more like manageable ones. So this one is something that they are doing a part 2, which I'm very curious to see how this is gonna look. So Bella Beauty Bar's Original Dead Rose. This is something that I got during last year, but this was also I think 24 release originally. I wasn't maybe as in love with this as some people have been with Bella Beauty Bar, but I do still think that it is like, if your idea of like Valentine's is pinks and reds, you are gonna like this one. With the shimmers, I'm gonna have to say they do crease on me, so if you are someone like me who whose eyelids are prone to creasing, you aren't necessarily gonna love this so much, but I would still say that you are gonna get very impactful looks with this one. One downside I would say that I had with this one, why I maybe wasn't in love with this one, was that I felt that a lot of these mattes, they are very pigmented and they are very like easy to blend, but a lot of these mattes had the habit they actually blended in together, and with a more expensive palette like Bella Beauty Bar palette is, I don't want my mattes blending in together, I want them to actually like okay, I want them to blend, but I don't want them to blend into a one color. I think that is what I was trying to say. So yes, I want my mats to blend out beautifully, but I don't want them to blend into a one color. And with this one, I had an issue with a lot of the mats that they kind of blended into one shades. And with a pricier palette, I actually wanted to show that I have actually like different colors on my eyelid. So that's the downside of this one, but I would still say that if this is the kind of color story you want and you want these very impactful special shades, this is still, I would like a palette that I would recommend. Very interested to see the part 2 that they are now planning to release from like this like part 2 of the Dead Rose palette. I'm very interested to see how that is gonna look like based on the cover, because the cover of that one has been revealed. It is more like a red and black theme, so I'm thinking that maybe the part 2 is a bit more even grungier than this one. Then I think this was actually officially a Valentine's release also a few years ago. So Glamlight's Betty Boop palette. This is something that I would say that if you want to have a Valentine's palette, but you also need to have your like basic neutrals, I think this is a very good in-between palette. And I'm not sure can you still get this, but if you can probably get this on a very good price because it's an older one. Usually Glamlight does pretty good sales on their older palettes. The background makes this look more red than it actually is. There is red in this one, but you are also gonna get some mauves, and as I said, we also do kind of have like neutral matte shades over here. And you actually do get like decent variety, and what I especially like with this one is that the shimmers are very like extra sparkly, almost this like wet looking shimmers, and I don't mind that much for the fact that it doesn't necessarily have the most like awesome special shades, but I do think that the shimmers have this like kind of nice wet look. And they are still very sparkly. I actually do also enjoy this kind of shimmer formula. I don't always need my shimmers to be like super shifty shimmers for them to be like nice shimmers. So this one I think is a good palette that if you want some red for your Valentine's, but you also want your neutrals, I think you're gonna enjoy this one. And I do think in terms of formulation, this is one of the like best formulations that Glamlight does, because Glamlight has a bit of an issue that some of their palettes have very good formulas. Some of them have a decent formulas, and then it can be something in between, but this had one of the like awesome formulas, and I kind of do like the packaging also kind of fun in this one. And I think it wouldn't be a palette favorites video if I didn't at least include one Odenside palette. We didn't have any Cosmic Beauty palettes in this one, but the Lovers palette that I got from there last year, like that was their Valentine's release, but every time I look at the Lovers palette, I'm thinking that yeah, but I'm still not seeing Valentine's in the color story, but that was just because my preference for Valentine's palettes is quite like monochromatic in one way. But no Cosmic Beauty palettes, but we did have one Odenside palette. So I actually was meant to already include this in last year's Valentine's Day video, but I kind of forgot it when I was like collecting and piling the palettes. But this was their holiday palette 2 years ago. This was the Silver Bliss palette, and this goes to the category of if you want a grungy Valentine's theme. I think this is a pretty good palette for that. So this is not for those of you who want a very light pastel pink Valentine's look. So this is for you who for Valentine's want something grungy, want something deeper, want something darker. I think this is gonna be a pretty good palette for that one. So we kind of have reds, we do have some neutrals to balance this out, but we do get quite a lot of depth with this one. And I do actually think a lot of the shimmers in this one are pretty like, I think my favorite shimmer shades in this one over here, and then also this shimmer over here, very pretty shades. But overall, I think for those of you who think that Valentine's Day you want something grungy and you want something deeper, this is like I would say that take this one out. I think this was a limited edition release, so I'm a bit unsure can you still get this on Odenside website. Usually these Christmas palettes have been pretty, like once they're gone, but if you did manage to get this on a Christmas couple of years ago, I think Valentine's seasons would maybe be a good season to dig these out, because I think there was quite a lot of like Valentine's look you can also get with this particular palette. Those were all the Valentine's Day palettes I had for this recommendation video. Comment down below maybe your top 3 or top 2 Valentine's palette that you like to use during the season. If you liked this video, push the like button and subscribe to the channel, ring the bell button if you want to get notifications from future content. You can also find me with the same nickname Makeup Heitsuko on Instagram. I'll see you in another video. Bye bye!